we saw you at Audley End about a month ago, and that day was, I think it was 33 years to the day that you performed at Live Aid.
It was, that's right, I remember seeing it,
That must have been an incredible moment, sort of thinking back, thinking, all that time ago I was on that stage. And
yeah, well, 33 years prior, I'm not sure where I'd be thinking I'd be, you're not sure whether you're still going to be around 33 years on. But yeah, it's funny, it's that weird thing about back then looking forward, everything seems such a long way away. But from 33 years on, looking back, it was only yesterday.
Gone by in a whiz, hasn't it? Yeah. You got any special memories from that day, Live Aid?
Live Aid, loads. The fact that it happened was magical. Even though we'd been, organising and talking about it for months, I still didn't kind of believe it was really going to happen. Until all the artists flew in a helicopter that day, because it's the only way you could get to Wembley, and we hovered just above an empty Wembley Stadium, and it was just surrounded by people waiting to get in, and it was just incredible. So at that moment I thought, this is it. And of course the moment Status Quo kicked off,
goosebumps for everyone watching as well.
Absolutely, yeah, it was wonderful.
Do you think that could ever be repeated again?
Oh, I'd like to think that there's enough causes in the world that need a bit of a helping hand, and music's a great medium because it transcends creed and colour and race and religion and even language. It goes through barriers and borders and through barbed wire and all of that stuff. Right. And it seems to be an amazing vehicle. So I'd like to think that yes, something like that could happen again. But whether Bob and I would even be invited if someone else did it, I've no idea.
I would like to think so.
I'd like to think so.
So you've been busy touring with Paul Young, haven't you?
I have. I'm going back out again next week to do the second half of the tour. I've done. We did 3.5 weeks in America, because America's so huge that you can't do it all in one go. It's just crazy. So we did that just before the summer. I've been back doing all the summer festivals, Audley End, one of them, and European festivals, and then we go out again next week and start over on the West Coast. So we're over in Vancouver, all the way down the West Coast, all the way through the Rockies, all the way through Denver and all of that, and then into Texas, and then we find ourselves finishing up in Miami. So we're going to end up seeing more of America than most Americans could ever see.
Do you get time to go out and see the places?
There's a myth in the record industry, in the music industry, that when you have a tour itinerary, there are gaps in between the dates. Right. So you get maybe 5 dates, and then you get a gap, and your record label will phone up and say, well, on that day off, can you do some interviews? You say, well, it's not really a day off, but driving 1,000 miles, so you don't get a chance, very, very rarely. Although I have actually organised that we have a night off in New Orleans, and a bunch of rock musicians with a night off in New Orleans is a bad mixture.
I can imagine.
So maybe I won't be around next year, I don't know.
Do you get a similar reaction from all the different, obviously America's such a diverse place and so many different types of people. Do you get the same reaction at the different concerts, or some wilder than others? Some
are wilder than others, but that's the same everywhere. America was never, Ultravox weren't really that popular in a commercial sense in America. We were always seen as a kind of arty new wave underground band. So whereas Paul had #1 records, what's that all about? Paul was huge in America, so it varies, and the strange thing is that people find your music through very, very different routes. It's not just people who were there back in the 80s when you toured there originally. There's an entire new generation have found you through video games or YouTube or old video clips or whatever, or your music being used in movies and television programs. So the assassination of Gianni Versace was a huge, big TV series all around the world, and they used Vienna in it. And you think there's an entire generation have gone, whoa, what is this piece of music? And they think it's new, and it's wonderful.
I suppose it's very easy for us retro lovers to think, oh, it's bad now, you know, it's not as good as it was. But actually, the way music is now, you can get your music out to so many more people than you ever could.
You can. It's just it comes out in a very different way. There are different mediums that people discover your music through, and in a way, it's great because the music has become kind of timeless. It's very difficult to date it.
Yeah.
If you hear, you know, a piece of music on a film or a play or a TV series or whatever, you have no idea what that is from. It doesn't sound 60s. Sometimes, you know, something like Vienna still sounds kind of timeless. It's a bit like the Blade Runner movie. You don't know if it was set in the past, or you don't know if it was set in the future. It's kind of got all of that. So that stuff lives forever. It's wonderful.
We were looking back, and you did the first ever Rewind, and now it's celebrating its 10th year anniversary. Why do you think it's a special festival, and why do you think these festivals have grown so much in popularity?
Well, I think obviously because I did the first one and set the standard, and then everyone's just said, okay, this just rolls on. There's something about music from that period. It's not just nostalgia. There's something about the songwriting from that period that was exceptional, and I'm not saying that for myself. You look at Spandau or Duran or Nick Kershaw or Howard Jones or, you know, whoever, you know, they all wrote really good songs, you know, Culture Club, and, you know, it was wonderful stuff. And when we wrote those things, we didn't know that they were going to last. You just wrote a piece of music, you put it out there, and then got on with writing the next piece of music. But since those bits of music were written, we've got the internet that keeps those things alive. You know, these pieces of music have been used in movies and stuff like we've just spoken about. So they have a life beyond the life that we ever imagined that they would have. And it's kept those things alive. At this moment in time, as we are speaking, there'll be a multitude of stations around the world playing a piece of music that I've written. And that's quite
incredible.
Bizarre,
It is. We're glad that your music can live on, and you're touring with Human League, aren't you, this year?
At the end of the year, that's going to be a great one. Human League and my band Electronica. So
we're going to try and catch up with you there.
Try.
We will.
I thought you said.
Lovely to talk to you again.
Thank you.